Welcome back to Might Be Manic, where we spiral, but we spiral cute. This is for the chaos makers, the kids who they say ask too many questions, the mischief makers, the disruptors, the ones who want to know why. Welcome back. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. And so basically, we're going to get started with a life update. For me, gosh, this past week, it's been odd, to say the least. I have noticed online, on different websites, social media apps, whether it be Facebook or Newsbreak or anything else, how much we've lost connection to one another. When there was a period where people weren't getting their SNAP benefits, you saw who was who. If that makes sense. And it was quite disappointing for me. I'm someone who's always had a lot of empathy and compassion for others. It's just who I am. I'm a Pisces. I care. If you hurt, I hurt, especially if I care about you. But even if I don't know you, I have to protect my energy at times because I will take everything on. I mean, everything. If I notice someone hurting, I hurt. And I truly do. And some people, I guess, don't understand that. But for me, it's very real and it's very valid. I genuinely care about others. And there were so many people laughing and finding humor in the fact that people were not going to get their food benefits or their Social Security benefits. And I just found that to be just absolutely grotesque and disgusting. I had offered to provide lunches to anyone that needs them, and that offer still stands. At the end of the day, people want to say there's only one race, the human race, but that is proven time and time again to be not exactly the way people feel or the notions that they hold, because I don't know why anyone would think that's funny for kids to not get fed. Like, my son, when his dad took him from me, he didn't feed my son quite often. Like, my son said he knew that when he was going on spring break or Thanksgiving break, he was gonna starve. And he would hide lunches because his dad wouldn't allow him to take lunches from the school. And he would hide them and take them home to his younger siblings, and he would get beaten for that. That's a true story, and we're working on criminal charges, but unfortunately, the system drops the ball time and time again, and they've done nothing about it, and his dad does still have those kids to this day, the younger ones. Not mine, never again. And I worry about them when things like this happen because, there are some people that abuse benefits, but that's still not the kids' fault. Like, we can still issue them to the parent. I don't obviously, his dad isn't using them for the kids. I don't know what he does with them, according to my son anyway. But it's like we can at least do our part to make sure we can facilitate food for children, and if you think kids aren't getting fed, packing lunches is easy. You can go to the Dollar Tree and get a loaf of bread, peanut butter, jelly, and paper bags, and for less than $7, you can feed quite a few people. So it's just, like, really disappointing to me because no child should ever not eat. Like, it makes me sick that my son went through that at his dad's, and they just don't care. Like, a lot of people just don't care, and I could never be like that. I just couldn't, and it makes me very upset. So I don't know, I guess message being, this past week has been difficult for that reason. Not for me. I mean, not financially difficult in that way. It's been difficult seeing how people are. And I think a lot of this year has been showing who people are, who they are. And myself included, I've learned a lot about myself just in the environment that we're in. You learn what you really are. It's kind of like fight or flight, except it doesn't feel like a direct hit to a lot of people. But to a lot of people, this is a critical hit. And this is when fight, flight, or freeze would come out, and it's showing what a lot of people would do, but one of those options usually isn't mock, and it's just been very disheartening. It's like, I don't understand why people want to micromanage people who are already in poverty. I don't understand that. I do not understand it, but they don't wanna micromanage people who are rich. It's like they're saying things online, like people on food stamps trade their food stamps for drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. First of all, I don't even know how that's possible, but it's like, why does everyone think that anyone who's on food stamps is drunk all day? That's so weird. It's so weird, and it just shows a complete level of ignorance and a lack of respect for other human beings, a lack of regard for children, a lack of regard for people who might be going through a challenging time, a lack of regard for the elderly, a lack of regard for the houseless, and it's just actually just devastating to see where we're at as a society, and then, it's gonna get dark because if that's how you guys feel, you're not gonna care about the next stuff that happens either. Until it affects you, you won't care, and that can't be who we're supposed to be. So, at the end of the day, try to be the light because it's really dark, and these kids don't deserve to suffer. The elderly don't deserve to suffer. The ill don't deserve to suffer. No one deserves to suffer. I mean, it's just very, very weird. It's hard for me to understand, and I'm glad I can't understand it. Some things I'm glad I can't understand, and I'm glad I don't understand that type of behavior. If you can help someone out, help them. If you saw someone drowning, would you point and laugh? A child, an old person, a sick person? I mean, it's very telling. So other than that, I mean, juggling multiple jobs and making time for my kids and making time for myself because, in these times that affect you emotionally on such a big level, you have to remember to take care of yourself because you're going to be a glutton for punishment for all of this and it's not your fault. And when you're an empathetic person, you often punish yourself for things that aren't your fault. And instead of sobbing or mourning, I'm going to just try to help. And if I can make a small difference, that's a big difference. So let's move on to astrology. According to astrological forecasts, this week ahead is shaped by the moon's motion, planetary aspects, and timing windows. So the tone will be a mix of idea surge and internal recalibration. You might find yourself getting unexpected insights, feeling a little impatient, or being pushed to act, which I have felt that. I have felt that, and I was like, why am I feeling like I'm anticipating something? I've been feeling like I'm waiting for something to happen for a while, and it had upset me for a little bit because I was like, "What am I waiting for?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute. This might just be life." Because for me, I'm someone I get bored. Like, I can't have monotony. That's why I start so many creative projects. But then I find myself creatively drained, and I'm like, "Okay, I gotta push this book out. Okay, I gotta do this rollout. Okay, I gotta do this podcast." And it can be overwhelming. I'm also doing so many other things that I haven't even disclosed to anyone yet, and it becomes exhausting at times if you are not careful with consolidating your time and prioritizing your tasks, which as a Pisces, don't do it. I don't do it. I'm a space case. I'm all over the place, but it all gets done. Chaotically, it gets done. After I run around like a chicken with my head cut off, it does get done. So there's that. And so if you're a future facing person, radioactive.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Like you build businesses, you speak to deeper truths, you lead with creative instinct. The key message for this upcoming week is to use the forward motion, but anchor it in your values and vision. So things like if you go to Cafe Astrology, the website, it suggests that you begin new things and aim for the right moment, not just the hype moment. Don't be a clout chaser. And it's hard not to chase clout, especially when you get paid for it. It's really hard not to. I mean, people will say don't be a clout chaser, but what if that pays your bills? You gotta try to find that medium balance, I guess, which they say exists, and that sweet spot in the middle, I'm still looking for it. If you find it, let me know. Give me the map. Dora the Explorer, let me know. So lean into vision and storytelling. You're in a good place to articulate not just what you're doing, but why. And then use creative momentum, bursts of energy when they hit. Take advantage of those because it's gonna be an odd next shuffle through the week. When you feel on, get that task done. Do it right then when you feel electrified, capture the spark because it's not gonna be all sparks for the next week going forward, and I can understand that, and I totally believe it won't be because it's dull outside. It's dull out. It's so dim. It's so dark. It's so just negative, pessimistic. The weather, it's raining pessimism. It's just like, "Oh my gosh." And you gotta not try not to let that get on you. Like, I dropped off my son at school today, and I'm not kidding, there was, like, 6 cops driving around the school. And I think it turns out it was because of a stolen vehicle. But it's like, gosh, this is not the vibe I wanna drop my kids off to. They already don't wanna be here. And it's like there's police swarming the school because, this is America. And you're just thinking the worst because this is America, and it just is, like, draining. 'Cause you gotta do these things. They're not choices, you have to do them. But if I had it my way, I wouldn't do them. I wouldn't send my kids to public school. It's a waste of time in my opinion. They've never had homework once, not once. My son went through elementary school with not homework, not one time. None. He hasn't had homework this year either. None. No textbooks. They use voice to text to write reports. And he said he asked the teacher how to spell something. She said, just use Siri. That's devastation. So what to watch out for in this coming week is any impulsivity. If you feel fired up, make sure you're not just reacting, okay? Make sure you're doing something sustainable. Don't waste your time. And don't argue with these people that don't make any sense. Because remember, they don't make any sense, okay? Watch out for overwhelm or burnout. We're all working too hard. I know we are. We all are. I didn't even know I could make this happen, and I'm like, I'm living where I'm living, and I'm like, I live in a place that people can only afford to vacation for a few days. I don't know why I continue to do this, because as a single parent, when you live in a resort town, you could afford to live pretty much anywhere, but the fear of leaving is real. When you've only known what you know, it's like you have to leave. You gotta move. I feel like I have to. And burnout will follow you if you don't know how to manage your time. That goes where you go. So you gotta learn. I have to learn it. I know I do. And miscommunication, with a lot of this creative energy flowing, the risk is moving faster than people can follow or misexplaining what you have in mind. We're all in a rush to get through this period, and we can't make it go by any faster than it is. You can think positive, and I know that sounds like a dumb thing. That's like when people say they'll pray for you. But I've been telling my friend, like, I think positive, and she's seen miracles happen every time she's around me. It's true. What you think about, you bring about. Reality, is it created by perception or is perception created by reality? I don't know. I think my reality is created by my thoughts. And I've seen that. It might be different for others. I'm not sure. So there's that. I don't know, guys. It's a lot going on. So, anyway, this episode of Might Be Manic is brought to you by the brands that get it, the ones that know being a little manic just means you care deeply. So, if you want your product, service, or story to be featured right here, email mightbemanicthepodcast@gmail.com or tap the link in the show notes. If you are on Spreaker or Spotify, there should be a link at the footnotes. We do love working with brands that actually match the energy, which is clever, curious, and a little chaotic, but only in the very best of ways. Also, if you want your life update to be featured on our next episode, go ahead and email mightbemanicthepodcast@gmail.com. We would love to have your update on here and listen for what you've been up to in the past week because it sure does matter to us and you matter. Don't forget that. All right. And the real ones know what time it is. There's an Easter egg keyword hidden in each and every Sunday episode, the Sunday spirals only. During the weekly bonus episodes or the Might Be Manic minis, there will not be an Easter egg drop. Although one of our previous episodes was taken down, and the reason being I only want to make sure I give factual information, and if something I say turns out not to be made factual, I will go back and either edit or remove the episode. So in this episode only, you will find two keywords in this episode only. So be on the lookout for two different keywords. After I've said the word, you will hear some type of audio that isn't usually in the sequence. It might be an animal sound, it might be a door slamming, it might be an explosion, it might be a song, a jingle, anything. It will happen after I've said the word, and I will only say the keyword once. And in this episode, I will say two keywords one time. There will be two different audios, one audio after each word. If you get all the keywords right and send them to me on November 30th during episode 11, Would You Fumble the Bag, which I will remind you, I'll put you into a drawing for the Season 1 Icon Awards. During the season finale, I will be streaming live on Riverside FM and possibly on Facebook Live as well, and I will draw the names right then and there. Anyone who gets all 10 words correct will be entered in the drawing. I'll draw three names. The first name gets 100, second 75, and third $50 e-gift cards for each winner. You can win one time and use them for one store. They will be sent right there on live during the episode, and you will be our top three season 1 icons, gold, silver, and bronze. So that's pretty exciting. Anyway, let's go on and get into it. Yeah. Okay. So today, what we're talking about, and sometimes it gets difficult for me to come up with what I want to talk about, and I'll record several episodes. So I've recorded several, but we're going to talk about the curse of being early. If you ever seem like you're a little too awake for the room that you're in, if you talk in theories and move through timelines, if you're a thinker that feels like you're too much, tonight's episode is about the curse and the gift also of being ahead of your time. So there's an outcast frequency. Have you ever felt like you arrived to life too early, like your soul RSVP'd for the wrong century? You're the type who sees things before they form. You catch patterns before they settle. You start speaking in truth and people tilt their head like you're talking in code. The irony of being a visionary is that no one believes your vision until it's convenient and comfortable. You become the outcast, the overthinker, the one who makes everything quote unquote too deep. Why does it always have to be that serious? Why do you think everything is that serious? Or they often call you paranoid. But that's what happens when you're tuned into a higher frequency. Static will sound like screaming. You don't hate the world, you just hear it differently. You don't crave validation, you crave resonance. You learn to stop explaining yourself to people who need proof before belief. You're full of faith, and you're full of hope, and you're full of belief. You learn to build your peace out of misunderstood moments, and you make sense out of them for yourself. Because one day the same people who doubted you will quote you like scripture. They'll call it innovation, not intuition. They'll call it timing, not time travel. There's a price of vision. So being ahead of your time means that you bleed for things that you haven't even happened yet. You carry the ache of possibility. What if? You believe in mermaids, you believe in ghosts, you believe in zombies, you believe in aliens because why not? You feel the pulse of something the world can't even see yet. And that ache, it's not insanity, it's evidence. It's proof that you're holding the future inside your chest. You probably tried to slow down before, tried to fit into smaller conversations or dim yourself into something easy to digest, but visionaries choke on average. You can't shrink genius into something the world can clap for. And, I know some of you are having Kanye West flash in your mind. Okay? Travis Scott, flash in your mind. Tyler, the Creator, flash in your mind. These are people who are ahead of their time, way ahead of their time, some more than others. You're not crazy for wanting more, you're just cursed with awareness. And you know how rare that is? Like, it's so rare. And you see that more and more. Like, the more you're ahead of your time, the more aware you are, the more depressed you'll be, the more lonely you'll feel. It's isolation. It's such isolation. Like, I told my kids, I was like, I'm someone who I would consider ahead of my time. I just would. And I don't know if that's arrogance. I don't know. I don't think so. I never aim to be arrogant. I don't mean it in a snarky way. I can believe in myself and not be an arrogant narcissist. Okay? That can be a thing, and I do. I'm ahead of my time. The things that I come out with, they'll make sense later to a lot of people. Some people will get it now, and if you get it, you're ahead of your time too. But most people will think you're just talking. You're rambling on. They'll even go and call it a mental health issue, which I have my share. I wouldn't call the show Might Be Manic if I didn't have manic episodes. But, I mean, is it mania or am I ahead of my time? I'm speaking it in a different language. Different doesn't mean wrong. And a lot of times I think people get that confused. To see yourself becoming the thing you once prayed for and still feel like no one's ready to meet you there is bittersweet, and that's the cost of evolution. So you're like living in a translation, essentially. When you're ahead of your time, that's the zone you find peace in. That's your sweet spot. That's your honey hole, okay? You try to explain dreams in a dialect that the world hasn't even learned yet. And you build bridges out of words hoping someone will walk across. You do things and people always say, I was about to do that. Really? Twins. Most people just stare from the shore and they'll tell you you're going too far. You start doubting yourself, thinking maybe you're too much. Maybe you should stop talking like you've seen the future. But the thing is that you have, okay? And that's why they stare. You're describing a place they can't imagine yet. People fear what they can't categorize. They need labels. They need safe boxes, clean definitions. They need a beginning. They need an end. They need proof. They need to see it. How do you know? Where'd you hear that? And it needs to be someone they respect because honestly, if people ask you where you heard that from, they don't respect you. They don't respect your opinion. They need to know who they respect that you heard it from, who they respect. And if that's not someone they respect, if I say, oh, I got that from Kanye, and they don't respect Kanye, then you're just a fool, according to them. Isn't that awful? You're none of those things. You're not a label, a safe box, a clean definition. You're chaos coded with purpose. You're the glitch that makes the system prove itself. It's a lonely gift. There's a loneliness that comes with being early. The silence between invention and recognition, the years where your brilliance looks like disobedience. Rocket ship, where your ideas are laughed at until they're monetized, where your love is misunderstood until it's romanticized. You learn to sit in the gap, to let your work speak before your words do, and to realize that not being seen doesn't mean you're invisible. It means you're unreleased. And when your time finally arrives, you'll recognize it by the peace that follows, not the applause that echoes, because the applause will always come late. Being early hurts because it's an invitation to faith, to believe in something no one else has touched yet, to be loyal to a vision that hasn't rewarded you, or to hold the blueprint while everyone else still thinks it's a napkin sketch is power and it's bravery. But the real ones, they'll build it anyway. And then the world catches up. One day, they'll use your words like gospel. They'll study your habits like scripture. They'll say you were different, forgetting that they once called you delusional. But you'll know the truth. The future needed you to break first. That's the paradox of the pioneer. You take the arrows so that the next generation can walk safely through. And you get the bruises so others can get the blueprint. And maybe that's the trade-off for being chosen early. You get the truth before the tribe. But you also get the power to rewrite that normal. You can change what normal looks like to the average eye. You get to invent your own category. You get to be the first name people whisper before they realize it's the one they'll be quoting. You get to be the reference point. You get to be the muse. You are the moment. So maybe instead of ahead of your time and thinking it's a curse, we can call it a gift of being futuristic. Maybe it's the universe testing how long you can hold the vision before validation. Maybe it's your reminder that purpose always arrives dressed like isolation. And maybe you're not waiting for the world to catch up, but the world is waiting for you to stop apologizing for being first. You were never meant to fit in, you were meant to foreshadow. You were never meant to blend, you were meant to redefine. You were never meant to chase timing, you are timing, honey. And the pulse, the proof, the prototype, that's you. Look in the mirror, that's you. So stop asking for permission to be what the world isn't ready for. If you've ever felt like the misunderstood one, the dreamer who couldn't sleep because the ideas were too loud, the friend who felt everything 10 seconds before everyone else did, then this is for you. It's hard being different. It's hard being the innovator. It's hard being the one that stands out from the crowd. Everyone, from a young age, we're taught to want to fit in. And that's not for everybody to blend in. Some of us are meant to be different. And, for me, I was always different growing up. I talk about this. I was adopted. So fitting in was never necessarily like the main goal for me because I couldn't. Like, I wouldn't. And so it kind of stopped being a thing that I had to have. And I've just learned to walk to the beat of my own drum because it's just the only one that I hear. So, know that your mind is a beautiful thing. It's given to you for a reason. And you should never ever try to, you know, quiet that down. You're meant to be exactly who you are. You're not cursed, you're calibrated. You're the sound check before the show begins. So just keep going, keep creating, and keep building in silence until the world hears the echo. And when they finally understand you, don't shrink to make them comfortable. Just smile, nod, and wait for the applause. And remember that you were early. You got here first. That's what brilliance feels like before it's believed. And that's what legacy sounds like before it's famous. And that's what the beginning of Right on Time really actually feels like, is why we spiral like this, because we have this in common. We spiral brilliantly. People will tell you, you need to keep that inside. No, you take that outside. You take that outside. You should show it. Everyone wants to see you. So before we leave, I'll give you a few gems to spiral on. I want to say these things to you. The version of you that you're becoming is going to cost you people, habits, and comfort. Pay the price and do not ask for a receipt because you will not be coming back to return it. If you agree or disagree with any of these, feel free to email mightbemanicthepodcast@gmail.com. You will keep meeting the same lesson in different people until you finally learn what it was trying to teach you. The hardest part of growth isn't letting go of others, it's realizing they already let go of you. You don't attract what you want. Look around you. Everything around you is what you believe you deserve. That's why it's what you went out and got for yourself. If you want more, if you want better, do better. But everything around you is exactly what you thought you deserved. That one always hits me. And that's why I keep my house a certain way. One time I was listening to this song and this guy said, I don't want to do business with you. I've seen what you work hard for. I swear, me and my kids started cleaning up. I don't want to do business with you. I've seen the stuff that you work hard for. Gosh. So whether you're about to go baste a turkey, whether you're about to go put those Halloween costumes in storage, or whether you're about to go solve world hunger, salute. Whatever it is you're about to do, that's all I have for you this evening. It wasn't a very long episode, but in the meantime, keep your foot on their necks, baby girl. And for the record, I just might be.